Good morning, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and today I'm here with my associate trainer, Amber and her wonderful boy Legolas here. We thought we'd give you an update and do a whole lesson on him so you can see how far he's come. It's been about 4 months since we filmed him last, since we did a whole lesson on him. I think you'll see he's developed quite a bit in that time. And so we'll just get started and take you through a whole lesson with him. Go large and track to the right. You'll notice that we always start and finish every lesson at the same place, and that is in a full stretch in the walk. So that is always our cardinal rule as well, that if we can't get on a horse and stretch it over its back in the walk, then we should be lunging it before we ride it. But in this horse's case, he's been doing that long enough that he's quite good at just getting on and stretching into the contact. So we will first let him just go large in the walk and just develop that big swinging active walk. Notice he's finding the full length of the stretch in his neck. So it doesn't matter whether your horse is a 3 or 4-year-old, 5-year-old, or a 10-year-old. It doesn't matter whether the training level or Grand Prix. They start in the same place. They just simply come up higher as they develop in their abilities. Very nice. And go ahead and change across the diagonal in the walk. Keep that big swinging active walk going as you go large. Turn down the center line and leg yield to the right. So at his level, we begin with the leg yields. A higher level horse might begin only in shoulder in. But we start in the order of the exercises, that is leg yields, and then shoulder ins, and haunches in or half pass. Always in that order. So we want to be able to do our first leg yields and shoulder ins. We even do the half passes with the horse in a stretch. It's help them to stay soft over their backs, swinging and active. Remember, the position of the neck is not the most important thing. Unfortunately, too many people have begun to think that. Round means round in the back. It means the whole length of the horse's top line being engaged, not just the neck being pulled over. Very nice. Like that. Change across this diagonal again, and then down the center line at the top, leg yield to the left. So as we train a horse, we teach them to do all these exercises, but that doesn't mean they're going to be in collection, whereas ultimately where we want them to be. But we teach them to do all these exercises in a full-length stretch and working gait, and then as they develop the ability to collect, then they know all of those exercises, and there's no problem at all to add that bit of collection into what they're doing. Down the center line, leg yield to the left. Where people make the mistake is they get all hung up on the frame and they shorten the horse all up, and then they teach them to do shoulder ins and half passes, but by then the horses are so shortened and the steps are so shortened that there's not much brilliance in the movement. Very nice. Just all the way down that stretch and down the next long side, shoulder in, still in the stretch. Now notice we're going to keep the horse long in the shoulder in to start with. So all we're looking at here is just for her to displace the shoulders a little bit to the inside. Let's do that again down the next long side, asking for a little bit more angle, a little more step over. So we're going to try to improve that just a little bit. So again, remember, we're always looking for small improvements, not big improvements. We improve a lot of things, a lot of little things each day. They add up to big things. If we try to make big, gigantic changes in horses on any given day, we usually just end up with resistance or a sore horse. Much better. Now you can see how much more difficult that is. So he's going to stop and scratch. Something they like to do every now and then.
It's okay, I'll do it now.
Go ahead and do that again. One more time since he decided to scratch there for us. You know, I noticed that we didn't make a big deal about that with the horse. You know, there are people, the horse tries to stop and go to the bathroom or scratch something and they're beating them up over it. Yes, we want to make him move on. We don't want that to become a habit, but we don't have to make a big deal of it. And we do have to realize that, you know, they do have to go to the bathroom. They do have scratches, just like you and I. Sometimes it's more than they can stand. It's like with a young horse. If they need to stop to relieve themselves, we let them. It's so important that everything keeps flowing through a horse, just like through people. Change the rein again across the next diagonal. Nice, you can see how nicely that walk is beginning to swing now. There's getting to be more action in the hocks there. Rounder's neck is stretched out more forward. And shoulder in down the next long side. Same thing still in the stretch. Not bad, a little hesitant here and there. Change your whip to the inside and do that one more time down the next long side. So again, we're still just in the stretching, relaxing phase of the workout, the warm-up. Just like you, I hope, if you go to the gym, that you warm up before you exercise. Talk to any trainer of humans and they'll tell you how much that prevents injury. Well, it's the same thing of horses. If you warm them up correctly and get them working over their backs, you will spend a lot less time with vets and more time riding your horses. Very nice that time. You see how they're a little resistive in that? Very nice. Go ahead and change again across the next diagonal, keeping him stretching. Always trying to get that walk a little bit longer and more active. Now develop a little more of a working walk. So we begin to bring him up a little bit and shoulder in down the next long side. Now a little more in a working walk. So now we're going to bring his pole up a little bit, but only as far as it doesn't interrupt his stride. So if we lose the walk by virtue of bringing the head up, we know we have to lower the neck back down. Remember, movement is what we're about here, not position of the head and neck. It's the least important thing. But you can see how his walk stayed active there. I can let his shoulder go back to the rail a little bit. That's actually a little too much angle. You can see that got to be beyond a 4-beat. Now he's back closer to a 3-beat. That's what we're looking for. Not beat, I meant to say track, sorry. That is, he got so wide he was on 4 tracks rather than on 3. Very nicely done. Keep him in that walk now and just go straight down this long side and from the opposite long side, half pass to the right. So this horse is just beginning in the half pass. Put your whip in the outside hand, so you want your whip to be on the side of the predominant leg when we're training, which sometimes that's the inside and sometimes that's the outside. In the case of the half pass, it's going to be the outside. Now there are sometimes horses that will respond to the outside leg but won't stand up to the inside, in which case then you would keep it on the inside. So in other words, you put it where you need it. So she's going to go through the corner there, set up his shoulder and advance a little bit, and then start the half pass. Very nice. A little more hindquarters, keep it going. A little more bend to the right. Very nice, right there, good, keep it going, just in the walk, all the way to the rail. So you got a little fussy there, good job. Now let him stretch all the way back out. So that's the hardest exercise for him in the walk, is the half pass. So you notice it wasn't perfect, but we got back to the rail, and then we're gonna let him have a stretch back out, take him back across the diagonal, and then bring him back into the working walk again across the opposite short side. You notice how we are reestablishing that active walk that we lost a little bit by virtue of doing the lateral exercise, which is what usually happens until they get much, much better at it. When you feel that your lateral work is beginning to gain impulsion rather than lose it, then you know you're really on the right track. But this is a very big horse. He's like a gangly teenager. This has been the most difficult exercise for him. Develop your working walk again, and once again half pass to the right. Goes. That's better. There you go. Good there. That's better. Keep it going. A few more steps. Very nice now. Keep it. A couple more steps. Good. That finished very nicely. Let him stretch all the way down. And notice how we immediately come back to that stretch. Let him stretch all the way down. Reestablish that swinging walk. Go large. Develop the working walk again through the opposite short side, and then once again half pass now to the left. So change your whip into the right hand so it's on the side of the predominant leg. Walk a little more active. Very nice there. Notice how nice and softly he came up that time, without losing much of the walk. Good, very nice. And we see that it's obviously much easier for him in this direction than the other direction. Very nice. And you may go straight from there. That was plenty. And let him stretch all the way down again. Now, since that was so good, we don't need to repeat that. That was as good as I would expect him to be able to do it. So we're just going to stretch him all the way down on the big circle here on the walk again. Just reestablish that big swinging walk. So now we'll go through the same process that we did in the walk, in the trot. That is, we'll start in the stretch and then we'll bring him up. So whenever you're ready there, into a working trot rising in the stretch. If you go back and look at his earlier videos, you'll see he's developed a lot of top line since you saw this horse last. His neck is a lot thicker. Look at the top of the neck muscles. He's also slowed down quite a bit and got a lot deeper underneath his body. Now remember, this horse is a 5-year-old. He's been in training. Amber had him for about a year, just doing nothing but stretching with him. He'd gotten broken in the neck by his previous owners and had some problems, so we've got most of that straightened out now. So he's had that good year of just doing not much more than stretching. Very nice. That's more like it. Now notice as he went down and dropped his head down, all of a sudden his back leg started looking even. That is the flexion in the hocks. As he started working over his back, how much freer they became. Good. One more time back in the stretch on the circle here. That's more like it. Like that. Now on the circle, begin to develop the working trot. So remember, the working trot is the same trot with a different position of the head and neck. Is the only thing that's different. In other words, we want to keep the back exactly where it was. So if we can bring his head up without losing the trot, that tells us that the horse is sufficiently developed to work at this level. Very nice. Right there. And go large. And first we start off in the rising trot, doing a few exercises. Down the center line, leg yield to the left. Always in the same order that we did in the last gait, that is the walk, as we start with the leg yield. Nicely keeping his shoulder in advance, which is how it should look. And then all the way back down in the stretch again. So in the beginning of our exercise, we'll do a few exercises, come back to the stretch till we're really sure, till we get to that meat of our workout, so to speak, which is the hardest work that we do every day. But we're still in the warm-up phase of things here. Letting him get loose and working over his back, like that. Very nice. Develop the working trot again as you go large and change the rein across the next diagonal. See how nice and uphill, and as she brings his head up, the hind legs don't fall out the back or stop moving. So one of the biggest mistakes people make with dressage horses is they slow them down in order to sit to the trot. So if your horse is uncomfortable in the sitting trot, it means his back is not up and working underneath you. And if you slow him down more, then the back is going to hollow and drop, and then you're going to have real problems on your hands. Go large, down the center line, leg yield to the right. And once you've lost the back, understand that you're really not doing dressage anymore, no matter how many fancy movements you may be doing. If the horse is hollow, you are not doing dressage. Very nice. And once again, stretching all the way down in the circle here. Now notice as we're going, he was a little fussy with his head a few times, that sort of thing. We didn't make a big deal out of it. We just are letting him warm up. So you'll see that he'll become more and more consistent as we go. I'm happy to still do the work. Whereas, if we start beating them up and pulling their heads back, in the very beginning when they're just trying to warm up and get their focus, then they're going to resent what we do, and we probably will have shut them down. Very nice. And bring him back up, developing the working trot again. Very nice. Now notice how nicely he's flexing at the pole and not in the neck. And this is a horse that's why we had to go back and stretch him. He had been overflexed, probably in draw reins or whatever, but he'd been broken in the neck. So we had to really spend some time letting him stretch out. Go large. And working trot sitting. Very nice. Now again down the center line in the working trot sitting. Leg yield to the right. Back and look at the video from 5 months ago, you'll see he's developed a lot more top line, a lot more consistency. He's slower and deeper in the stride and the trot. Much easier for her to sit on. If a horse is hard to sit on, it shouldn't be set on. If you have to slow the horse down out of its working gait, then there's probably something wrong. Circle here. Hold up just a little bit. Bring your hands together just a little bit there. Very nice. Right there. Notice that he's on the weight of the rein, how deeply he's still tracking under the body. Go large, maintain that, change the rein across the diagonal, down the center line, and leg yield to the left. Another thing to remember is the head and neck position is always relative to the horse's conformation. Another big mistake people make is they try to make every horse, look like a horse that has a very high neck set, and we can't make them all look like that. The neck can be wherever it was put on, but that doesn't mean they can't be collected. Circle here. Very nice in that. Right there. Once. Bringing your circle a little bit smaller now, so you come in more like on about a 15-meter circle, and see if you can do that without changing. Right there, still nice and loose, beautifully flexed. Watch his pole doesn't drop. Keep him there. Good job. Go large in that working trot sitting now, and shoulder in down the next long side, coming back toward me. That's looking quite good there. Notice how beautifully the horse is flexed all the way to the pole. He's not flexed back in the neck. Very nice. Change the rein across the diagonal, rising to the trot for a moment, just to give him a little break for a second. But without stretching all the way down. At the end of the diagonal, sit to the trot again and shoulder in down the opposite long side. Go ahead and circle there and develop your working trot again before you go back to the shoulder in. Working trot sitting. Good job. Very nice. Now rise and give him a stretch on the circle here. So once again, it's not like we only warm up and stretch in the beginning or end. When you feel the horse getting a little tight throughout your workout, you come back to the stretch and relieve that tension. What that also does is it lets the blood flow back through the muscle. So if you keep a muscle tense all the time, it's not getting any nutrients. So if we want to build muscle, we have to have blood flow. So we have to release that tension so that the horse can let that blood flow back through there, and then each time we bring him back up, it usually is a little better. Unfortunately, our footing in here is not great. He keeps stepping a hole over there. Deeper into that. Very nice. Now develop that working trot again. Working trot sitting. But that's another thing to realize. If you work your horses correctly, over their backs, they're balanced on all four legs. So if they do hit a hole or something, it's going to be, much less wear and tear on them. Serpentine of 3 loops length of the arena. Very nice. Now circling out here in front of me. Very nice right there. Now we're going to do a little canter work. Whenever you're ready, ask him to canter. Good job. Now notice he still tips his head up a little bit, but that's really pretty good for him. So we don't make a big deal of that. That's just going away. Go large. Very nice. Shallow loop serpentine and counter canter on the next long side. Whoops. Circle here again, reestablish that canter. Now we have started working on flying changes with this horse, so it becomes a little more difficult to do the counter canter if he gets a little confused. And back into the canter again. Be sure you keep your outside leg back. Go large again from the same place. Work your shallow loop serpentine. Sure you keep your right leg back. The trick is once we start doing counter canter, you've got to really keep your body in the position of the bend. If you let that slip a little bit, it lets your legs slip. Once you start teaching flying changes, they may want to do a change on you. But you always do your counter canter before you do any flying changes with any horse. Be sure that you can counter canter, otherwise it becomes very difficult. The hardest horses that we ever train are the ones that come out of the hunter world where they do automatic changes and they just don't get counter canter. It can be very difficult. Very nice. Go large. Now down the center line, leg yield to the right. So same thing in the canter. The exercises, the lateral work comes in the same order. Fortunately, our ring is very dry here today. We're getting some slippery spots. Very nice. Now lengthen the canter up the next long side. And in the middle of the short side, back to a working trot sitting. Take the diagonal and do a medium trot. Good. Stretch up, a little tap, get a little more impulsion, and a little bigger trot lengthening on the next long side. That's more like it. Stretch up and change the rein across the diagonal. Now he was a little sleepy today, that's why I did the canter first before we started doing any lengthenings, a couple of those just to get him motivated up underneath himself and get a little more desire to move forward. Beautiful working trot right there. Circle here and canters you. Wait a minute, are we still in the same direction? Change direction, sorry. One more time back across the diagonal, my bad. And just go large in the trot sitting, all the way back down here and back onto the circle. Lovely working trot. Now look how nice and uphill the horse looks. We haven't lost his back end. It's still staying up underneath him. His hind leg and back leg, front leg and back leg are all moving together, so to speak. See them swinging on the same plane. And whenever you're ready, canter on the right lead. Very nice. Now he's a big horse. That was really quite good. It's been a little bit of a struggle with him getting his canter work together, but he's getting there now, starting to balance. Go large. Down the center line at the top, leg yield to the left. Very nice. Now from this end, serpentine, a shallow loop serpentine in the counter canter. Much better. Lengthen the canter on the next long side. Very nice. Shoulder in down the next long side. So just like in the trot work, the leg yield came first, then we're going to do the shoulder in. Take the next short diagonal and do a flying change. Now he's only done this maybe 3 or 4 times, so he's just beginning to do the flying changes. And not bad. Now he was late behind as you saw there, but he did change on through. Circle here. So we're not going to make a big deal of that. For a young horse just beginning to learn this, that's okay. Very nice. Now shoulder in down the next long side. The biggest mistake people make when training horses is trying to get perfection on any given day, instead of just working towards it little by little. Take the next short diagonal and do a change to the right. Once again, late behind, but he did change on through. Circle here. So once again, we're not going to make a big deal of that. He's just learning how to do it, and he's a very big horse. And come back to a trot. And give him a stretch. So I could see that he was starting to get a little tired there. It looked like he was lugging a bit, so we're going to come back and let those muscles relax. It's a lot for him to do that. Let's give him another stretch in the trot. Let the muscles open up again, the blood flow back through. Let him relax and catch his breath. So a good trainer is like a chess player. We're thinking way ahead. In other words, what's this going to turn into? Instead of what can I make it do today, what will it turn into if we keep working him correctly? Letting him improve little by little. Just a little deeper into that stretch. Good job. Bring him back up on the circle. Develop the working trot again. Working trot sitting. Very nice. And notice how easily he came up. There are people who will tell you, oh, if you stretch your horses, you'll never be able to bring them back up again. Well, if you stretch them and don't have their back engaged, that's probably true. But if you get their back engaged, it is no problem at all. They come up almost by themselves. Whenever you're ready, canter again at the end of this long side. Take the short diagonal and let's try the flying change one more time. There, got it through behind, circle here. Still just a bit of a struggle for him. And bring him back to a trot. And once again, stretch on the circle. And notice we're not going to make a big deal about that. He's just learning how to do this. So the fact that he is completing the changes is fine. If I were to get him all beat up, try to worry about whether he's changing through exactly on time behind right now, it would just exacerbate the problem. There, and go large. And let him have a stretch all the way large. So we're keeping that big swinging active trot all the time. You never want to shorten horses. Collection is not shortening horses, it's elevating them. So what we lose, so whatever we start with, in other words, in our normal gait, we ask for collection, we get elevation. But if you've shortened the horse's gait, that is, you simply shortened the stride, then you go to try to get collection and you really don't have anything. Bring him back up, develop the working trot again. Working trot sitting. Circle there. Canter whenever you're ready. Take the short diagonal and try the flying change one more time. Put your whip into your left hand and give him a little tap with the whip this time when you ask. Try not to go too slow. Right there. Yes, now that was fantastic. He changed through clean. Back to a trot. And let him stretch all the way down. That was fantastic. So what an improvement that was. So we want to immediately reward that. So that was the first one he's done clean. That's really good. Let him stretch all the way down. Really get that. Whenever we've done something that's the hard thing for the horse, now I'm going to let him come back to a walk. And just walk and stretch for a moment. Give him a little breather in the walk and just go large. So always remember to reward. Whenever you get something better than you've done before, it's probably it's at least time to give them a little break, if not to stop for the day. Make that walk swing a little bit. You can see how that tired him out. He's a big horse, and the bigger they are, the more energy it takes for themselves to do the work that we ask them to do. So they tend to tire out rather quickly when they're really working over the back when they're young like he is, haven't developed a whole lot of strength. Just because they're big doesn't mean that they're strong. That being the other point that a lot of people miss. As I say, so many people, heavy people, buy big horses like Friesians thinking, oh, they're big enough to carry me. Well, and then you see them and they're sway back because they didn't do the work right. Just because a horse is big, it doesn't mean its back is strong. In fact, it's almost the other way around. The bigger they are, kind of the weaker the back they are. Big people are better off riding a 15 three-hand quarter horse than they are a 17 three-hand warm blood with a long back. That's not what they were bred to do. Very nice. And develop the working walk again. We're going to do just a little bit more trot work to finish up. And once again, it doesn't take too long. Working trot sitting again when you're ready. Just like that. Good. Very nice, right there. Now we won't ask anything else too difficult, just some simple turns and circles like this with him in a really good working trot, which is in right now. And once again, go back and look at the video of him from 5 months ago and you'll see how much more up he is, so to speak, to the neck, how much thicker his neck has become on top. Bring your hands together just a little bit, find that working trot right there. Beautiful. Come straight down the center line towards the camera and halt at X. So when the halt is done correctly, it's done by stretching up, not by pushing the weight down into the saddle. Just close your thighs a little bit in the saddle and stretch up rather than press down like you're trying to do a sliding stop. And we work in that way, just like you saw there, almost always horses will halt square. Absolutely beautiful. Walk up and say hello. What a good boy he is. This is a horse that I found while giving a clinic in Bakersfield, California. People brought him in a Western saddle, and he was quite a boy. I'm very happy he's in our stable now, and just coming along absolutely beautifully. Once again, this is Will Faerber with Legolas and my associate trainer Amber here. Great job today. So hope that helps. Remember, just take your time when you're training horses. Don't expect everything.